Rose with today's Tuesday Teaching Tip. Today's Tuesday Teaching Tip is part 4 in a series of Introduction to Writers Workshop lessons that I've been sharing with you. All right, so I'm going to share with you today's lesson, and today's lesson is near and dear to my heart. All of these lessons for Writers Workshop you can easily integrate into a curriculum, a writing curriculum that you already have. And today's lesson especially is one that's easy to integrate. This one is near and dear to my heart because as reluctant and emergent writers, it's really difficult to share their writing, either because they're afraid someone's going to say something bad about their writing, or they don't like it, or they're going to get back a paper, a story that they've written with marks all over it, telling them everything that they did wrong. And that's really hard as a writer when you poured your heart out and you want to share with somebody and all you see are the things that you did wrong. So how do we avoid that? Well, we do something called tag. In my son's writing journal, I never wrote on his stories. What I did do is I used some sticky notes and I used the tag method to help him grow as a writer. So tag stands for, you tell the reader something you like about their writing. Like, wow, I really liked how and from the simplest writer, I really liked how you used a capital letter at the beginning of your sentence. To a little bit more sophisticated writers, I like how you'd use the word crescendo in your story. In your forest, in the forest story that you wrote, you talked about all the noises of the animals began to get louder and louder and louder to this crescendo of musical notes or something. There's something from my son's writing, and so I really liked how you used that. So that's, you tell them something you really liked about their writing. So you set them up where, wow, I really appreciate you as a writer. And when you start off that way, then your writers are more open to critique or constructive criticism. So then you start that constructive criticism a little simple by asking them something about their writing. It's like, wow, I really like to know more about how were you feeling when you heard all these noises? Or what were you thinking about? So you ask the writer to give you a little bit more detail about their writing. So what this does, this is kind of that revision part of their writing. I'm going to revise my writing so that the reader can experience what I experienced while I was going through whatever was happening in my story. And so they grow as writers by understanding that they're writing for a purpose, they're writing for an audience. So now I need to make sure to add those details, sensory details, details about their feelings or about what they were thinking. And so their writing improves little by little as they think about those things. And the last thing is more of an editing critique. So you give them one thing to work on. And so it can be something as simple as making sure to capitalize the word I when it's by itself. I noticed when you have the word I in your story, you forgot to capitalize it. Make sure you do that from now on. So then they have these sticky notes and they have all these little lessons in here. This one here is about the word to. My son was getting mixed up with the TO and the TOO. And so I wrote a little note on here for him so that he'd remember TO, to, TOO, also, or amount. So the next time he wrote and he would use the word to, he could check himself. He could edit his own writing and say, okay, what the to, yeah, I used it correctly. Or you could see him erasing and changing it. So when we do that, we help our students grow as writers. Little by little. So if you have 170 or 180 day school year, you have 170 or 180 opportunities to help your child grow as a writer. So these little bitty mini lessons in editing, then at the end of the year become 170 to 180 lessons of some ways to improve their writing. And same thing that goes for the asking them about their stories, so they're aware every day that my reader is going to read this. Is there something else I need to add to my story? Do I need to revise it? Do I need to add to it in order to help my reader see and feel everything I did as I went through this particular event? And so that's why I really like using the tag method in their writing. So I hope you use this with your reluctant and emergent writers. And I'm going to have a lesson this next week, either on revising or editing, and so that you can see a formal revision and editing lesson that I use for later on. So this is something that once your writers begin to see themselves as competent writers and successful writers, that's when the revision and editing lessons come in, so that they can start doing that on their own before sending it off for publication to their mom, so that they can publish their writing and share it with others. All right, so until then, happy writing, and I'll see you next week.